What's up, everybody? Welcome back to this week's episode of the Antler Up Podcast. And I'm thrilled because I got a good buddy of mine, someone that I finally had a chance to meet last year at the Pennsylvania Outdoor Show, where we worked the same booth, the tethered booth. I got Josh Hillyard on the other side here, where Josh was on, man, that had been 2 years ago when you were still with First Light, doing some awesome things there in the whitetail side of things. So it's a great time to have you on for this discussion, because this is episode 2 of our camp discussion. So I hope you enjoyed that first episode, listeners. But Josh, man, welcome back to the show. I got Michigan native, the guy that is, again, like I've been telling everybody, with this camp little mini series I'm doing, I'm talking to buddies that I know for a fact how much hunting and what camp means to them. And then I was like, man, I know Josh has that camp. Like, he has been doing it for a long time up in Michigan, and just having another, obviously a friend and coworker, but someone that I could actually hear from what your tradition and what, Michigan means to you as far as deer hunting camp goes. So I can't wait to hear some of your awesome stories, man. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me. Excited to be here and talk about deer camp a little bit.
Absolutely, man. So right off the rip, dude, congratulations on that hammer of a buck, dude.
Thanks, man. Iowa always good to me. Very fortunate. I don't know if we got a lag or something. I think
as long
I can
as
hear myself talking.
Yeah, if there's a lag, you could, as long as you're talking, it will record locally.
Okay,
so like
cool.
you could still fire from the hip and just keep rolling, and then if you miss something from me, just ask me to repeat it. It's all good.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, so you killed a good one out in Iowa, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I killed a good one in Iowa, and gosh, like, speaking of camp, kind of like a mini camp out there. I've got a couple buddies that live out there, and it's always fun to get out there every handful of years and get to share a little bit of a different deer camp with them, and it's a little bit more hunting focused than maybe some of the other stuff, from northern Michigan deer camp stuff. But you don't spend a whole lot of time at camp out in Iowa. You're in a tree all day, but that was a great time. Killed a good one. Killed my personal best to date, and it's always fun to be able to celebrate with buddies out there and have a few adult beverages and just take it all in. It was a great time.
Heck yeah, man. So like you just said, growing up, going to deer camp up in the UP, what were some of your earliest hunting traditions you remember growing up, and who influenced those traditions the most for you?
Yeah, well, I didn't grow up hunting, so I didn't get into it until just out of college. I went a few times. In high school. Hunted a little bit, but never really considered myself like a hunter in high school. I went and sat in a bucket with a buddy with a shotgun during gun season. Like, I think I did that like 1 or 2 seasons in high school, and never really had like any opportunities. But once I got out of college, kind of really got into it. And so the camp I go to is in the northern Lower Peninsula, like Northwest Michigan, and it's like very similar to some of the stuff in the UP. Not as harsh of winters. You're not dealing with the predation like you do in the UP with wolves and stuff like that. But big, cedar swamp, big wood stuff, which is similar to UP landscape. But yeah, man, it's a blast going up there. It's you go out there not expecting a lot of deer encounters. You go up there expecting a good time, and just it. So our gun season here in Michigan always falls on November 15th. Right after you've just been going at it real hard with the bow. 15 days of first 15 days in November, and the gun season for me always felt like a chance to almost like relax a little bit, right? Like, not as high pressure. Like, you're just going up to have a good time. If you see some deer, great. If not, go sit a couple hours in the morning, go back, have some coffee and breakfast at camp, and just relax for the afternoon. It's almost just feels like a vacation from hunting a little bit, even though.
Yeah. Who brought you to your first camp?
Yeah, so I go to my buddy Mark's camp. So Mark Kenyon, he's had a family camp forever, and he's going up there since he was a little guy, and it had always been a family camp, just family. And I got the invite up there. Gosh, we were just talking. We were trying to figure out the first year that I went up there, and I couldn't quite we couldn't quite put our finger on it. I think I've been going up there close to 12 years now. So, you know, people came and went, and kind of some spots opened up at camp, and it was like, hey, if you want to come up, we'd love to have you. We'd love to have you come up, type deal. And I've been going up every year. I think I've missed maybe 1 or 2 years just with like some weird scheduling stuff, but been going for the last at least 12 years, same spot.
That's pretty awesome, man. So like obviously you see that his family side of things, and you get a chance to see the social side of things of probably what you call your family, even though they're probably non-blood related side of it, with the friends. When you think about it, is it more of like a family event? Is it more of that social tradition, like with the friends, a mix of both? And how does like that dynamic really shape your overall experience with that deer camp?
Yeah, yeah. So it's essentially all family except me. So it's me, and then Mark, his dad, his uncle are kind of like the stalwarts of, like, his dad and uncle are kind of like the you know what's
The
the
head
right word?
honchos.
The head honchos there at camp. They kind of run the show, and then Mark's been doing a lot more. They've been doing a lot of habitat work up there, and trying to make it better. Like, it's not great habitat for deer, but they've been doing a lot to try to make it better. And then, like, this year, his cousin came up. There's a handful of friends that will. Some of his uncle Steve's friends will, like, I think there was a guy that came for a couple of years there, but just kind of like a couple people come, a couple people go. But that's kind of like the core of it. It's usually like the four of us. And then since the last couple of years, we've been starting to take our boys up.
Yeah.
So Mark brought his two boys, and I brought my oldest this year. So it was a lot of fun being up there with the kids.
Heck yeah, man. So I want you to save that aspect of it for this maybe next question for the back end of it. But when you think about going there the last 12 years, and obviously the really amazing things that Mark's been able to do in his career within this world of hunting and everything along those lines, some traditions I'm sure have evolved now. Like you were saying, he's been doing a lot more habitat things. So, like, what are maybe some of those evolving hunting traditions that have changed over the years? And obviously, then elaborate on some of the new ones that you guys are hoping to incorporate.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'll speak to, like, kind of my experience up there. I know, like, it's like his grandpa, who's passed on now a number of years ago. He passed away before I started going out, but, like, he was kind of the head honcho before, and, like, I hear so many cool stories about, what it used to be like, and how, like, the landscape up there was totally different. And, out in front of camp, it used to just be open fields. Now it's all grown up with cedar trees, and just like all these different stories. Sitting in camp, and they'd see, deer running through the yard. They've got one of my favorite things about camp is the wall with the fireplace is just all mounts of all the deer that have been killed up there over the years. And that's probably, like, my favorite thing about camp. You go in and you just see the wall of, the old school, like, velvet, like, skull cap mounts. It's just this little one room log cabin. But yeah, like, from, like, a tradition standpoint, it is always kind of like, all right, go hunt your one kind of semi-permanent blind we've got set up here, and go sit there until until you're ready to come in. And they still got a handful of those permanent blinds, but they've really changed. Like, something that's changed is, like, paying, like, I always remember Mark saying, like, like, for all the things that he learned from his grandpa, like, one of the things his grandpa never talked about was, like, hunting the wind. Right? Like, they just went and sat their spots, didn't matter.
Regardless.
So I think, regardless, right? So, like, I think that's something that's really changed the way people have hunted up there, is getting people to think about that.
Yeah.
And, like, I know his dad pays attention to that. Now it's always fun kind of listening to him here, like, the wind's going to be coming out of the south, so I'm going to go sit on this side of the food plot, or I'm going to go sit here. Because I don't think those conversations were happening, 15, 20 years ago. And then his uncle, like, is a big still hunter, so he just loves walking. He's not a guy that could sit down. So we always kind of like it when he's up there, because he's always kind of pushing some deer around.
Yep.
So it's always nice having him kind of walking around. But yeah, man, like, the traditions for me, like, some of the things that I enjoy is, like, not getting out there, half hour before daylight. It's like, kind of push it, getting in there maybe a little bit before gray light, maybe right at gray light. it's just, I think for me, like the biggest thing is just it's a much more relaxed feel. And that's one of my favorite things about it, is just getting up there and kicking back and, hunting, but not having the pressure to, really get after it too hard.
Yeah, dude. Well, and you talk about, I'm sure once maybe it will be a couple years from now that you actually bring the boys up and the kids up for actual participating in deer camp side of things. But I'm sure you guys have experience of bringing them already, like you just said, of bringing them up there, and I'm sure the two of you guys are just thrilled for one day of being like, man, just wait till we're the old guys and these two are, these kids are just running circles all around us and everything. And
It'll be here before we know it.
oh man, it goes quick. They'll be telling you guys how to hunt
Exactly. Well,
the spots.
his oldest, I think Mark's oldest goes with Mark's dad with his grandpa, and we always joke like, yeah, Everett will tell you when a deer's coming, what you need to do, and he's got it all figured out. He's quite the little hunter. But yeah, man, it's just like they got some great neighbors up there, some great relationships with the neighbors. One of the guys like makes his own moonshine, so bring that over after a long day in the woods. Not so much the last couple of years with the kids around. We've kind of shied away from that side of it, but it's not that it was ever too rowdy, but it's definitely toned back a little bit. We're all in bed a little bit earlier these days, these last couple of years with the kids up there.
Nice. So I know you mentioned you love going up there and you seeing the skull caps and seeing the old velvet skull cap things. Other than like that side of things, what can you think of like a favorite memory? Like maybe your first deer up there, or someone else doing something, or it could even be non-hunting related. Like when you think of trying to maybe explain somebody, you're in a grocery store, you're still wearing an orange vest for whatever reason, and someone's just like, man, why deer hunting camp? And you got to
Yeah,
think of that favorite memory. What
yeah.
is that?
Well, we can get into this in a minute, but like probably my new favorite memory is just from this past weekend. We can hit on that in a minute. I don't even know if you know what happened this past weekend, but one of the things we always joke about, well, my first year up there, this is just kind of a funny story. My first year up there, I was still a relatively new hunter, and first kind of gun season. Like I'd hunted down home a little bit, like during gun season, but never really had like a great spot to go. Just wander around some public land during gun season. So I go up there, and at the time I brought a muzzle loader with me. That's what I had. That's what I was going to hunt with, and go and just shoot it, make sure everything was good, and come to find out like the breech plug is all like fouled up, like not firing. So Mark and I like drive 40 minutes into town. I buy like a scoped combo from the sporting goods store, like off the rack. Buy it, go back, set it in. I was hunting with it that afternoon. It's still the gun I use today. I've done some work to it. Um, but it's just like one of those like young and dumb moments where you don't sight your gun until you get up there. So that's like one funny story I always think about, is how much time we spent messing around getting that gun. That first year I went up, but I think like my favorite thing to do up there is they got these like old leather chairs like right by the fireplace, and I love these like big oversized like old school like field and stream coffee cups. My favorite thing is getting up in the morning, got the radio going, they got the propane lights going, and just sipping coffee in one of those little leather chairs sitting by the window and the fireplace going. It's dark and it's quiet. And just like, it's just perfect.
You could hear the
It's my
sounds.
favorite part. Just the wood crackling in the fireplace, and just talking about like what's going to happen today. And like that's what I look forward to getting up there, is just sipping some coffee before the morning hunt and just shooting the shit with the guys.
I love that, man. Do you guys have any like rituals that you all do? I know that kind of sounds like a weird question, but like, is it uh like a certain meal, anything along those lines that you guys do, or anything?
Not really. I wouldn't say we really have anything like that. Like we used to play a lot of poker, stay up late playing poker, that kind of stuff. But like as far as like a meal, I don't like. We usually kind of split meals, right? Like, hey, you do breakfast, you do lunch, we'll do dinner. Always some venison, always some sort of venison meal. And there's like a local bar we go to at least once every time we're up there. It's fun just to go visit a local establishment.
That's awesome. So you had the generational impact, obviously, from Mark's grandfather, from his dad, and bringing you in and introducing like your kids into it now and all that stuff. Like what would, you and Mark, and or even if you started your own camp, like
Mm-hmm.
you build another
Yep.
little shed right on top of that same land or next door or something along those lines. Like, what traditions are you guys really hoping to pass down to the next?
Yeah, I mean, as far as like specific things, I don't know. Like I would want my kids to enjoy it to the point where I have. And like I think like the biggest thing I would love to see is like for them to pass that on to their kids if they were to have kids, right? Like just kind of keep that trend going. I can't think of like any like one specific thing like I'd want like, wear this pair of socks or, any like superstitious things like that. Like I just like I want them to have like the passion and the love for it like I do. And however that gets across to them, I don't know. But like that's what I would want. Like, I would want them to think about going up there all year long.
Yeah. Amen.
That's when that day comes to go up there, like you can hardly hold your excitement.
Yeah. I love
So
that. Dude, that's the perfect answer too for that. That's kind of been the theme so far amongst the guests with that, is just passing that on, having that joy, that love. I mean, I haven't said this aspect of it from in the first two interviews with this, Josh, but I don't know if you saw years ago, man. I mean, I was probably in middle school at the time. I'm 37. So there was an MTV show that was like, it was like I live for the beach, or I live for the New Jersey beach, Ocean City or something like that. And it was this Guido dude that he worked construction, and his like one famous line was like, I work Monday through Friday to go to the beach, right? Like that was like his thing. And he would go on the weekends and live it up and drink and go out and all that stuff. And I've never had a camp feel like I would go to my dad's. We would do like the same thing as far as getting prepared for our rifle season, but I would stay at his house. Like we didn't have a cabin. We had our own private land mountain that we would hunt, but we didn't have a camp. And this year, me and my buddies, we have something now. And like the first couple times when I hunted archery there this past year, it was like I would work Monday through Friday, and when I knew I was heading out Friday after work, dude, I was like fiending. I'm like, I'm just working to can't
nice.
wait to go to. And I came across that clip for whatever reason. I was like, OMG! I was like, this is literally how I feel like this guy from back in the day watching this MTV show when I was a kid. So it's kind of funny though, but like how that is, and it's just the love and the passion. But going along with that is, I did say this last time, like my daughter has yet to go up there, but like she can't wait. And it doesn't necessarily mean to hunt, actually. It's just she just wants to go up there and experience like that aspect of camp, basically. And I'm excited for
Yeah, no, it's the best, man. So like last year was the first year I brought Wade's my oldest. First year I brought him up. And so like we pulled him out of school Friday. 15th was a Friday, and picked him up from school Thursday. And the original plan was to go straight from school, just like have the truck packed and go. Oh, there's a little bit of change. You know how it is with kids, right? Like one of them might be sick. So like we're gonna hold off a night and like just make sure everything's good. So like we when I picked Wade up, I go, hey buddy, like change of plans. We're gonna go up tomorrow morning. And it was just like waterworks, man. Like he
oh
just like lost it. He was so disappointed that we weren't gonna go. And even though it was only like one night difference, he couldn't hold it in. He was so sad. So like I think we're on the right track. I think for right now it's just because he's so excited to get out there and play with his friends, right? Like play with
yep,
Mark's two boys and do all that. But like I think he knows it's like it's different.
yeah, yeah,
It's a
heck yeah.
special place to be.
So I want you to maybe see if you could elaborate on, Josh, like how you were saying you don't have that pressure on you. You know what I mean? You're going out gray light, you're enjoying coffee. I guess like maybe talk about like that impact on you, for just like having that that fresh breath of fresh air basically, and really enjoying the moment, and like what that really means to you, man.
Yeah, yeah. So I think like, here in Michigan, it's we our bow season opens up October 1st and gun season's November 15th. So like that first 45 days of the season, it just feels like a real grind because, you get it in Pennsylvania too, right? Like there's so many hunters here, like there's so much pressure on these deer. Like your best opportunity to kill a good buck is, before gun season. So like there, whether you know it or not, I think you're just like putting pressure on yourself to like get it done, in October or early November. And when it happens, great. When it doesn't, it's just like that much harder. Once the guns start cracking, and for me, it's like where we hunt in northern Michigan, there's just not a lot of deer. Like where we're at specifically, it's just like low deer densities, big woods. So it was always like, well, there's a chance we might see deer. We probably won't, but like there's a chance we could see something. But we're not gonna like kill ourselves trying to get out there, hour and a half before daylight and going 3 miles back in, whatever like that you might do for bow season. So it's just kind of like it almost feels like a reset, right? Like you kind of like you're coming off the rut where you're doing a bunch of all day sits and just day after day after day, or coming back from some out of state trips or whatever it is. It's just like the pace of the game just slows down. I think part of it's having like a gun in your hand, right? Like a little bit of an equalizer. Like you don't have to be in the exact right spot. You can be in like the right zone, but then also just like, going up there for 12 years or whatever, I think I can count on one hand how many I know I can count on one hand how many legal bucks I've seen in that time. It's been
Yeah.
two. So it's just like the likelihood of like catching up with one is, has been slim. Now it's getting better, but I think just the there's not that pressure like, okay, I gotta get it done today. I gotta get it done today or whatever. So I think it just kind of like it's a nice reset. You go up there for a few days, long weekend, whatever it is, however much time you have, and kind of go home then and reset for like the last part of the season, right? Kind of get a bow back in your hand at some point, or shift to kind of, if you need to fill some doe tags, maybe that's when you do it. Or it's just like, I don't know. After gun season, it's just gets really tough here. So just a kind of a shift in mindset, I guess.
I like that, man. I love it. Now, what about this past weekend?
Yeah, so went up, like I said, went up to camp, got up there. We're actually driving up opening morning just because making sure kids weren't sick. Everyone was in the clear, everyone was doing good. So we ended up, delaying getting up there for a day. So we're driving up opening morning, find out that one of the big deer in the area gets killed by the neighbor. So it's like, man, it was good. It was a big one. And so it's kind of like a bummer, right? But at
Yeah,
the same time,
yeah.
it's like you're going up there with like three kids, and the likelihood that they're going to be quiet enough for a, big deer to come strolling through when one of them is in a blind is probably unlikely. So we find that out, get up there, let the kids are running around being crazy. Like the thing about the cabin where it's at is it's like right by, like all the hunting is done within a few hundred yards of the cabin, right? So like we try to be, somewhat quiet, like not too rowdy, but like having a 7 and a 5 and a 4-year old, like there's no such thing. You get them together, they go nuts. I don't think we didn't see anything. We didn't see anything. No one saw anything Friday night. Go back in Saturday morning and sitting in a good spot. Like this is the one area that I've sat over the years that I've actually seen some deer. I saw a real nice 8-pointer there a handful of years ago, and it's just like a good. There's like a old pipeline that kind of runs through there. So there's a couple different spots where there's a change in cover, some good edge, in this spot. And then they've done some habitat work in this like big stand of hemlocks. So it was like a good spot. I hadn't been in there in a few years since they've done some of the work. And so we're sitting there Saturday morning, and we've been in there for a couple hours, and I think we've gone through all of our snacks by now. So he's on the ground, playing around and drawing a notepad or something. I don't even know what he was doing. And I looked down. It's like 8:30, 8:45, something like that. Hey, buddy's like, calm down a little bit. Like, just be quiet. Like he loved wearing his like ear protection the whole time. So of
Yep.
course, like when he's talking, right, he's like talking way too loud because he can't hear himself. And I was like, hey, buddy, like, turn it down a little bit. And I turn around, and there's this buck just looking at us, like 40 yards away. We kind of stuck in through some brush, and he's just like looking at us. And I think at this point, like, so Wade is like behind me, and I think he stood up to be able to see. I think Wade stood up to be able to see, and then just like, just like the head bob, and he's like, "Oh man, something's up." So he took off because I had my gun on my rest, like on my little shooting stick, and but it's not like I don't have it shouldered or anything, so I'm just like frozen. And he moves. I got one little hole like further down, so I try to get positioned as soon as he leaves, and he went right through that little shooting hole and didn't have a chance. But he was heading towards the general direction of Mark's dad, and Mark's oldest son were sitting in the blind, I don't know, a couple hundred yards from us, and he's heading that way. So I'm just like waiting. I go, all right, they're gonna get a shot at him, and I keep watching out there, just like see if anything's going on. And Buck ended up circling back, and he's like walking back along the edge of the swamp in these hemlocks, and I was able to get him stopped, and Wade was watching and put it right on his shoulder and shot him, and he ran maybe 20, 30 yards and piled up in the swamp, and dude, it was wild. No,
That's awesome.
he's not like a big deer, and he's like a 7 point, like probably 2.5 year old buck. But it's just like it's the one I'll remember forever because you had your boy in the blind and kind of went up there saying like, I'm gonna shoot any legal buck, like I don't care. I'm gonna if I get the opportunity to fill a tag with Wade in the blind, like I'm doing it. And
Yep.
it ended up being a nice little buck. Like we call it the top row buck for the mounts. Like it'll be it's big enough to go on the top row, right? Like all
Nice. There you go.
they get bigger as you go up. So he was a
Yep.
top row buck and like little would be an 8 pointer, but didn't have much of a brow tine on one side. So yeah, man, first time shooting my gun at a deer, you know, up at deer camp. Been going for 10, 12 years, whatever it's been, and first opportunity at a deer is pretty awesome. No better feeling than getting that
Nope.
thing back to camp and hanging it up on the pole and standing around looking at it and talking with them, drinking a beer, looking at that's just there's no better feeling in the world.
Heck
So
yeah, man. Dude,
got the deer camp, monkey off my back. Finally got one up there.
that's unbelievable that it took like you said, obviously the deer numbers are not there, but like that long to cherish that moment. And it took, just think like that first year when you were there to when this actually happened, you had your boy in there with you, dude. Like that is so cool. You know
All
what I
the years it
mean?
could have happened, yeah. All the years it couldn't happen. I killed a turkey with him in the blind in the spring, and I'll buck this fall. So I just need to start
Take him
carting
with
him
you.
around wherever I go.
Yeah.
He's
I
a little
like
good
it.
luck charm, but yeah, it was fun. Like we sat there for a while because like I said, we weren't too far from other guys in the group hunting, so we just want to make sure we didn't screw. So, but every 2 minutes, like, okay, can we go back?
Yeah.
Can we go back? Can we tell Uncle Mark? Can we tell Everett? Can we tell Colt? Like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And just like trying to get him to calm down. And we let the boys kind of track the deer. Like, we kind of went and we checked it out, just kind of had an idea. We never found any blood. Never found
Really?
any blood. We just like, luckily it didn't go far. Just like a little body search. And we found them, but we let the boys walk ahead of us and like, oh, there it is. You guys see it
Yeah.
over there? It's like, so they found it, right? The boys found it, and then it was a argument for the rest of the camp of who actually found it. Um, but they all found it together, so it was fun and got a little lesson and all the fun stuff that comes after pulling the trigger too. So it was good experience for all of them.
Dude, that is awesome to hear, man.
Yeah,
Congratulations on that. And
thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
dude, what a year, like you said, spring with him in there, and then shooting that buck in Iowa, and then getting that one up at camp. Can't get any better than that, dude. So
Yeah,
congratulations.
yeah, dude. It's been a whirlwind of a season. Like from not much, we got a 3.5 month old at home, so I was a 2 month old when the season started. Like I think I'd been out 3 or 4 times, just a couple quick afternoon hunts before my Iowa trip, and I was like, this might be one of those years, right? Like
Yep.
Iowa might happen for me, but it might just be one of those years. You just kind of get out when you can, and if something happens, it happens, and then within a matter of like 6 or 7 days, build 2 buck tags, and you're riding on cloud nine, and whatever happens the rest of the year, it's all gravy from here.
Yeah, dude, I love that you just said that because it makes me feel good about my situation. Just because for me, I was just talking to a buddy through text message. I was like, you know what? I really want to go through and see how many days I actually did hunt this year. And for me, the state of Pennsylvania, I had 7 sits. That's it. And I was like, I put a lot of, like you said, you went to Iowa, you wanted to get that opportunity. for me, it was my Ohio trip, and I was successful there on that trip. So that was my big. I put a lot of time and effort. Like that was one of my main goals, was to kill an Ohio buck this year, since I came home with my tail between my legs last year and stuff like that. And I was able to get that done, and now I'm like I'm excited for what the gun season. I haven't been this excited for gun season in a very long time, and I can't stress how excited I am. And that means I'm going to be, like you said, shoot a doe. If I get for me, I'm hoping to. Yeah, what am I kidding? I'll probably shoot any legal buck at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, because you guys have antler point restrictions there in PA, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll shoot. I won't say I won't. I'll shoot a 6 or better. That's my goal. I won't just shoot like a little 5-point or something like that. I'll try to shoot a 6 or better.
There you go.
But yeah, man, dude, I appreciate your time talking about camp, your traditions that you've started doing with Mark and his family, and what a cool perspective. And I greatly appreciate your time. I value you, man. So thanks for coming on, dude.
Hey, appreciate it. It's always fun to get to talk about deer camp. I feel very fortunate to have gotten that invite all those years ago, and I hope I keep getting it, because it's one of my favorite places to go.
Heck yeah, man. I'd love to hear that. Well, thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next week, everybody. Antler up.